Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Shelf Care with Alicia, where I, Alicia, am a licensed therapist who loves to read. And so I read mental health books, self-help books, psychology books, you name it, I read it. I do a little review, and then you get to decide if it's the best fit for you. Because let's be real, there's so many options of self-help books out there, which is wonderful, but also very daunting. And so if you've ever stopped in the thrift store or a bookstore and been like, oh my gosh, what do I choose? That's the point of this podcast and book review is I hope to make these things a little bit more accessible because we shouldn't be gatekeeping these resources, and I fully believe that books can be a powerful tool in addition to therapy. So I hope you join along. I'm so excited to talk about today's book. Normally, I'm a little spicy with some of my books. I've been a little harsh on some of them. And so I knew I had to go back to one of my faves because I really do want to recommend books to you guys. It's just not my fault that there's some really bad self-help books out there. Okay, so which one are we talking about today? One of my favorites, How to Keep House While Drowning by Casey Davis, who is another licensed professional counselor, LPC, therapist, all those fancy terms. I've actually read this book before, probably 3 years ago, and I've been referring it to clients ever since. And even though I just reread it, I still took away new nuggets and easy 5 stars all around. Honestly, I would give it an 8 out of 5, 10 out of 5, whatever number we want to add. It surpasses my 5 star ranking. It is one of the best books I've ever read, especially for like a self-help thing. And I'm going to go into all the things that I like about it, how it can be used, and then you can decide if it's a good fit for you. Spoiler alert, I'm gonna recommend this book to anyone and everyone, and I have, hence why I recommend it to clients, but you can decide for yourself if this is a good fit for you. So what the heck is this book about? Well, the summary is it's a gentle approach to cleaning and organizing. So it already gives you a little hint of, and even with the title, like how to keep house, it's kind of things of how do we do all of the things that we are expected to do when we feel like drowning. That can be like a literal, just like I'm so overwhelmed with things. It can be exhaustion, it can be chronic health, it can be mental health stuff. And so it's written with really short chapters, like 2 to 5 pages are some of the chapters. It's amazing. Short paragraphs, just like no fluff in it. Because when you're exhausted or overwhelmed, the last thing you want to do is read 30 pages to get a single tip. Like if I'm drowning with emotions and tasks and responsibilities, I don't have the energy to sit down, read a giant book, figure out what I can do, implement it, all that jazz. So these short paragraphs and short chapters, revolutionary. Like I'm so surprised more folks haven't adapted to this lifestyle. So anyway, it's short chapters designed to help overwhelmed and exhausted people with realistic hacks for cleaning and care tasks. Care tasks are things that involve like taking showers, moving our bodies, feeding ourselves, anything that really involves with being alive. So cleaning and taking care of ourselves. And then secondly, so that's like the bulk of it are these tangible, realistic kind of tips and tricks to deal with those things. And then the deeper level as well throughout the book is reframing and kind of challenging the norms and these rules and these belief systems about how we view chores and essentially being more gentle and compassionate to ourselves. And so it's a lot of like reframing things, looking at things in a different way, kind of using different language to describe things. And then that helps us then also be able to implement some of the tools. So it's great. It's wonderful. So I'm going to start with what I like because honestly, there's not a lot that I don't like. But I really like how even from the beginning, there's a how to use this book. So we don't get that with a lot of self-help books. A lot of self-help books, we just are expected to read the whole thing and then immediately implement everything. And so again, if you are overwhelmed or exhausted, that's a really daunting task. And so In the first few pages, she talks about how this book was even made to be accessible for neurodivergent readers, including the text and just the formatting of things, she uses metaphors, but then also describes things. So she really wants to make it accessible for as many people as she can. And then even just with like the short chapters, like I think that really gets that she's speaking to the audience of I'm overwhelmed, I'm exhausted, I need help right now. What can I do? Another thing that I really like about this book and like the how to use it area is you don't have to necessarily read it in a linear order. So there's like a table of contents, obviously, and so you can kind of scroll through with, okay, right now this task is really adding a lot of stress to me. I'd like to start here. You can. There might be a few things that she builds on, but nothing that you're going to be like completely missing if you need to jump around. She also has what's called like shortcuts. So there's some chapters that do go a little bit more deeper into some of like the self-compassion and some of the more like mental work that goes into it. Or if there's just like things that don't apply to you, she says like you can skip ahead to this chapter. So it's really nice to kind of like you can either bop around or you can kind of like choose your own adventure depending on what you are needing. I really like that it is adaptable and individual for wherever you are in your season. So overall, I really liked just as simple as it sounds, like the format of it. I think it's one of the most realistic, achievable reads for a self-help book. The other thing that I really like about this self-help book is she's very real and open about how she does not have it all together. She shares her own experiences with perceived failure and some of her own negative criticisms that she has either gotten from other people or her own inner critic. She talks about her real life mess and her struggles. And honestly, I like that from an author because if I'm reading a self-help book, I want something relatable. Like, I'm not trying to read these hoity-toity people who are like, my life is perfect. I have this proven point, and if you don't do these things, then like basically like blaming you for the chaos in your life. And like, first of all, perfection is not attainable. This is coming from a overcoming perfectionist. Like, I would love everything to be perfect. Um, but it's just not attainable for a lot of us. And so I don't need more guilt and shame for things that I'm not doing or haven't thought of, or if it's really hard to do some of those things. Like, so many of these self-help books are like, just think positively. Like, you should be able to do these things. It's that easy. And this book is like, no, it's not easy. And that's okay that it's not easy. You're not alone in that being easy. And so I think it makes it so much more relatable and like it makes me buy into it more because I'm like, okay, she really knows what she's talking about. If she can say, hey, I've had my low moments, this is what has helped me, it almost helps me lower my walls down as well and be like, okay, I also haven't been perfect. Oh, okay, I can try this. It's like I don't have to pretend to be like I'm doing these things so that I can be perfect. Like that doesn't actually help anything. So I really like all of that. And it's throughout, like literally from the back of the book. She talks about postpartum depression, having her second child, and having like a messy house. She talks about getting comments from people on Instagram, and it just is very real instead of the Instagram perfect world that we need to attain to. That's really like the opposite of the message that she wants to get out of the book. So, love her, love that. Okay, sorry, it's cold outside. I'm recording in the middle of December in South Dakota, and it is snowy and just dry. And so if I don't drink tea, then I'm either gonna have a sore throat later or have a coughing fit in the middle of this recording. So I don't want to put you through that. So thank you. Okay, the other thing that I love are her reframes and philosophy about honestly everything. Like I normally don't think I'm a cult person, but I think I would sign up for her cult. Like just everything she says is amazing. Well, I shouldn't say everything because I did have to nitpick a few things, but like pretty much everything she says, her philosophy is amazing. And it's something that has stuck with me for years, something that I've adapted into my own life when I first read this a couple years ago. It's something that I use with my clients. And so, just for folks, a reframe is basically when a therapist or ourselves, we can reframe things ourselves, is we think of things in a different way. So, if I had this belief of, I'm only worthy if I have a clean house, or I'm a good person if I have a clean house, or the opposite of that being I'm a lazy person if I have a messy house. Then a reframe would be a more adaptable, helpful, accurate way of thinking about those things. So it could be I'm human and humans live in their houses, which means there's going to be mess in houses. That's a reframe. Taking care of myself and resting is a recharging, helpful, productive tool for my body. That's a reframe. So just like anything that's kind of challenges the negative belief that our bodies instantly kind of go to, her entire book is filled with different language to use, kind of self gentle reflection questions to kind of help us think of things in a more helpful way. So that's kind of what a reframe is. So one of the big ones that she talks about, and I co-sign, fully love, is that laziness doesn't exist. Like, let's just think that in for a minute because I think a lot of us, especially us high achiever, perfectionist, like we got the straight A's, we are the reliable one, we're on top of things. Like, that's literally everything goes against everything we have been taught, right? That like, no, we have to be productive, and if we take a rest, then we are lazy and we are bad and just all those things. But if you really think about it, laziness doesn't exist. Because let's even go down the devil's advocate for a second. Let's say, oh, Alicia, yesterday you sat on the couch for 4 hours watching TV. Isn't that kind of lazy? No, no, it wasn't lazy because guess what? Yesterday, I had 4 hours of clients where I was giving it all. I was giving them my full attention. I was being present with them. I was hearing them with share some of the most intense things and most vulnerable things. On top of that, I also did a few household chores. I took a walk. I did some gentle movement on my body. I've worked on some holiday gifts for people. And so, do I feel bad that I watch TV for 4 hours? Does that make me a lazy person? No. Let's say it's today, where I have no clients today, and let's say I still watch TV for 4 hours. Does that make me a lazy person? No. If my body needs that 4 hours, I'm listening and honoring what my body needs. If my depression is acting up, if my body is sore, if I have no energy, if I'm exhausted, then giving my body that 4 hours to watch whatever stupid TV show that I want to watch isn't lazy. It's actually productive because I'm taking care of myself. So, boom, mic drop. She does it a lot better with challenging things, but I just love the language she uses. The other thing that I really like is the language that she uses around chores and obligations. So many of us, I mean, even as a kid, like I had chores growing up, right? Or like we obligations. I'm a homeowner now, so I have these obligations to my house and my family and all these things. There's a lot of responsibility and pressure and a lot of shoulds and these like assumptions that kind of come with those things. It's not fun to say, "Hey, I'm doing a chore day today. Woohoo." No, I love organizing and I love having a clean house. That is not fun for me. What is more gentle and helpful is saying things like care task. If I'm doing these care tasks, it's taking care of myself, my family, my home, and that's much more of a gentler, motivating way of looking at it versus this pressure, daunting thing of like, oh my gosh, I have to do all these things. So I really like a lot of the language she uses. Also, when we talk about care task, I like that she talks about how even if it seems simple, like a care task might seem simple, when we actually think about it and break down all the time and energy and support and just like tasks that go into it, a lot of these things are not simple. Let's take taking a shower. To most people, they might see that as a really easy care task. Like, yep, you hop in the shower, you're done. If we really break it down, especially for someone who has mental health stuff going on, I mean, I have anxiety and depression. So sometimes that's hard. People who have ADHD, kind of like task organization, that can be really hard. People who have chronic illness, people who have just other legitimate, like things that are pulling their attention. So maybe you're caring for really small children who need your attention, or maybe you have this wild, chaotic work schedule where it's taking like time away from those things. So when we really think about all the tasks, okay, I have to, for me, I have to go downstairs. I have to be cold. Like my house is cold, so right now I wear really cozy clothes, and so I have to be cold for a second. I have to then take the time to wash my hair, wash my body, do those things, dry off. My hair is wet. I have really thick hair. It takes forever to dry. I also can't use a blow dryer because then my hair gets really puffy. And so then I have to think about, okay, I can't do anything immediately after because again, I'm in the cold in South Dakota. So if I have wet hair, then I have to stay in for a few hours to let it air dry. I also have to wear really warm clothes. I can't be too close to a client because then it's going to look really kind of awkward on camera. Do we see how many things it actually takes for a simple care task? And that's for like for me, showering honestly isn't one of those things that takes a ton of spoons for me, but I do know it takes a lot of spoons for other people, and those are very valid. I have other care tasks that seem really simple that I dread. Drinking water, you would think you were asking me to like solve world peace. Like I just can't. Now, what's also interesting with a lot of these care tasks is a lot of folks with the time, the lack of time and the mental health stuff and the physical health stuff, a lot of us report feeling better after doing the care task. So it's not how like CBT doesn't always work because we know, hey, after I move my body for a little bit, I feel great. After I take a shower, I feel great. After I drink a glass of water, I feel great. But it takes a lot of time and organizing and planning to do those things. And then that's just one task. If we think about all the tasks that we have to do, we're not just responsible for taking a shower that day. We're also responsible for a million other things. That's overwhelming. And so I like that she calls that out, where just because something is simple doesn't mean that it's easy. And I think that's really empowering for a lot of people and takes away the shame because people feel a lot of shame and judgment for, well, why can't I just do this really simple thing? Because it's actually not that simple when we think about it. Okay, she goes into a whole lot. Like I could do a whole TED talk on that, but I like that. Okay. The other thing that I like when I'm kind of talking about these care tasks is so much of us use shame as a motivating factor. And I think I've talked about this on other ones before, and it's something that I'm really passionate about because I love self-compassion work. And shame does not work as a motivator. Like research has literally proved it. Like if you yourself think that it motivates you, I think you just adapted to it and like you are just trying to avoid like other negative things. But it actually doesn't help the true motivation. And so I really like that she just like it kind of outlines that example of if we want to get some of these care tasks done, we gotta be a little more gentle with ourselves. And she says it like it's not an easy thing, but I really like that idea because it's something that I preach with my clients, preach it for myself, and so anytime someone else uses that self-compassion work, especially pointing out the contradiction between the shame and motivation, I'm here for it. I also am obsessed with all the quotable moments in this book. Like, I want to make little signs all around my house. She even has one that you can like rip out of the page or make a copy of. So, like, she's all about these like quick little mantra type things, little reminders. One of the ones that stood out to me, and these are her words from her book, you don't exist to serve your space. Your space exists to serve you. So that's what I mean by kind of some of the reframing things. Like a lot of us are taught or have this assumption of like, I have to do these things for my space. That then comes with certain expectations, certain standards. We should be doing things in a certain way. And that can lead us to not having the energy to do all those things, right? But when we really think about it, our space is there to make our life easy. And when we kind of start reframing and challenging and kind of like figuring out what that looks like for us and how that serves us, that makes it a whole lot more manageable. Not necessarily easy, but more manageable, right? That kind of goes in line with one of the biggest takeaways from the book. And again, kind of how some like these quotable moments or these reframes is I think if you take anything away from this book is that you take out the morality of tasks and shift it more towards like a functionality of these tasks. So what the heck do I mean by that? So many of our brains view things as moral, and that means like good or bad, right? So it is good to have a clean house. I'm a good person. I'm a good partner. I'm a good wife. I'm a good parent if I have children, and my house is clean. I'm on top of it if I'm able to maintain a clean house and a job and all of these things. Like, this is amazing. On the flip side of that, if I'm not doing those things, if I have dishes in my sink that have been there for a few days, well, I must be gross. I'm lazy. I'm bad. I'm not a good partner. I'm not pulling my weight. I'm letting down my kids. Again, if you have kids. Um, and then that then goes into our worth, right? I'm not worthy of good things because I'm not doing these things well. I'm not able to keep up with laundry. And so I'm not really worthy of rest, of love, of taking time off, of feeling like a good person. Do we see how deep that spiral can go? And again, we talk about, oh, well, it's not going to make me motivated to do things then, right? I'm going to feel like crap if I feel like an awful person because my house is lived in. And she wasn't just saying it to save face. Like her whole message really is about finding functions for these things. And she does it with like asking us where we get some of these rules, kind of what messages we get from people, because we have these strong kind of just like these unwritten rules in our head of how our houses should look and how we should act and all these things. And then we feel like crap when we can't meet those standards. But if we can think about, well, how can I make this function for myself? Well, that's a whole heck of a lot easier. That's a lot more empowering. I no longer feel as inadequate, lazy, or bad, things like that. So if we take dishes for an example, because dishes are my least favorite chore or care task, if I want to phrase that. It's not good to have my dishes done, and it's not bad to have my dishes not done. There is a function there. There is a scale, and this is unique to every single person. So what is functional for me and my family is going to be very different than what's functional for you and your family. So for me and my household, I have an a-hole cat who I love with my whole heart, but he likes to get on the counter, go in the sink, and if there's any food, remnants, things like that on the dishes, he will lick the dishes. He will eat whatever gunk is in the sink because he's an a-hole and he thinks he's never going to eat food. Even though he gets very well fed, he gets very expensive food. He gets like 6 meals a day. But for functioning, for my household means I have to have a clean dishes, whether it means rinsing off all my dishes before putting them in the dishwasher, putting them immediately in the dishwasher. I can't have dishes overnight. Now, is that going to work for every single family? No. If I didn't have my a-hole cat or a cat who didn't eat those things off of the sink, would I be doing that every single day? No, I don't care if I have a few dishes in my sink, but there's a function or a reason behind that that makes sense for me and my family. She's also really good with if you don't really know where to start with like what does functioning look like for you yet, she has very like good examples of what she does or other things that you can do. She even has an entire like appendix at the back of almost every single chore that could be done or care task around, and then what the different like functions could be and kind of like ways you can play around with things. And so it's definitely like the theme of the whole book. And so you can definitely adapt, and she's not like this is the only right way. Like she's very clear with whatever you need to do. You can take all of these tips, you can take none of these tips, you can adapt these tips. It's just whatever you need to do for your family. One of the things that I really like when we think about creating the function of our space is she kind of outlines three main things to think about. And I'm not going to share like everything in the book because I definitely think like you should still read the book for yourself. But when we think about, well, how do I think of the function for my space? There's three levels. At the bottom, the bare minimum is safety. So that's when I think about my cat and the dishes, right? Like my cat is gonna be an a-hole and he's gonna eat things that are probably not good for him. He's gonna throw up, he's gonna have diarrhea, like it's gonna be a whole thing. So for safety for my cat, I have to do the dishes, or I choose to do the dishes because I care about my cat's well-being. Like I said, if it wasn't for my cat's safety, then I can go to the second level where it's comfort. So for me, my comfort of having dishes done would be that all the dishes are in the dishwasher and it's running. Then and that I have enough clean dishes for the meals each time I want to eat food. And then happiness is kind of like that peak. So it's like the when I have the most energy or kind of spoons to put towards that, I can think about happiness. Happiness is honestly my husband doing the dishes because I hate doing the dishes. So it would be him taking that off my plate, putting the dishes away, having the entire clean sink like fully done. That would be the happiness. So most of the time, every day, I'm not doing the happiness or even the comfort level thing for dishes, right? I'm doing the bare bones safety, keeping my cat safe, making sure there's no bugs or mold or things like that for me and my husband, and then making sure the stuff is clean for my cat. She does this for all the different spaces. So if we think about the floors, safety would be making sure that there's nothing that could be like tripping hazards. If you have young children, maybe that would mean making sure there's no small things that they could put in their mouths. Um, Safety, maybe things that would involve like bugs coming in, so making sure there's like trash and things cleaned up in that space or at least like contained somewhere else. Comfort for me with, and I think she even mentioned this in her book, comfort would be maybe having things like don't stick to feet. Like I don't like when there's like crumbs sticking on my feet if I'm barefoot. I'm more barefoot in the summer. Right now it's winter, so I have fuzzy socks on all the time, so it doesn't really matter as much for me. And then happiness would be like when it's fully swept and like mopped and the wood floors are shine, like that just looks really nice. So again, am I doing the happiness level every single day? Gosh, no. I think I've only like polished my floors maybe like two or three times since I've moved into my house. Um, Over like a year, almost 2 years ago. And so it doesn't need to be that intense all the time, but pretty regularly we're picking up things that my cat could eat, making sure that we have like clear walkways to important areas, and then about once a week we do like a sweeping to make sure like nothing sticks to our socks or our feet. So that's what functioning looks like for us. Like I said, she gives examples. You can adapt it. What works for me and my A-Hall cat might be very different than the season that you are in and what your family looks like and what it needs. Okay, so that's kind of like the function level space. One of the things that really stood out for me when I first read this a couple years ago, when it first came out, is doing things for future you. So sometimes present me doesn't care about doing a care task. And that's okay. If my body truly needs that rest, then like it's okay to say no and like we don't have to feel guilt about that. But there's some things that make future me's life a little easier. And so if it's really not a fun task that I'm going to enjoy anyway, having that frame of I'm taking care of future me can make it a little bit easier, like kind of like jumpstart some of that motivation. So an example is like I have like a nighttime routine where I will like pick out clothes that night before for future me because in the morning, my brain does not work in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I don't start seeing clients until like 11 o'clock. And then I have lunch and then I see a few more clients because my brain is just not working. I need a lot of coffee in the morning. And so at night, when I'm standing, or in the morning, if I open my closet and I see all these different clothes, I get overwhelmed. I'm like, I can't make this decision. I don't care. Like, and I sit there and I waste all this time just staring at my clothes. At night, however, my brain's working. I'm like, oh, I can easily, it takes me like 5 seconds to pick out an outfit. At night, it takes me about 20 minutes to pick out an outfit in the morning. So future me, I'm thinking about future me. So at night, I pick out an outfit for the next day. This might be loading up the coffee maker the night before, or packing up a lunch if you don't want to wake up a few minutes early. So whatever that looks like for future you, it's just a different way of viewing it of like, oh, I have to do this thing, but no, I'm kind of like taking care of future me. Okay, I'm wrapping up some of my likes about it because I could honestly talk about a million things. One of the things that I really appreciate is that she talks about privilege in this book. When we think about organizing and cleaning and just a lot of just even just mental health, doing like wellness and self-care stuff, there's real privilege that we need to consider. So she's very real about certain economic barriers that some families take, or some families have. So some families might be able to afford a cleaner, and there's nothing wrong with that. Whereas other families, like myself included, I can't afford a cleaner, and that's okay too. And so she talks about not only just like the economic privilege, but I really like that she also talks about the mental health and energy privilege or even time privilege. So some people don't have the luxury of being able to do all of the things, the great ideas that she has, because we are truly working, in four different jobs and trying to be present with your kids. So that's okay. Like she helps you kind of organize what are the priorities, what are the small things you can do, and again, taking away a lot of the shame of course you can't do the dishes and laundry all the time because you're working 16 hours a day and you want to try to hang out with your family for a little bit. Yeah, it's okay that you have dishes in your sink. Like, you're not a bad person. So I like that she owns that, but also energy. And she talks a lot about disabilities and even like there's a whole area about like environmentalism stuff about how a lot of us have guilt and shame if we can't recycle or we use some prepackaged stuff or more like convenient type things without realizing, hey, people with mental health struggles might need that to get food in their bodies or to be able to maintain the dishes. People with physical disabilities might need those things because of dexterity things or other barriers that they have. And so I really like that she owns that and is like, hey, like, we're not here to shame people. There's all these different spectrums of things to do. If we need to use plastic or processed foods because they are cheap or convenient or make life a little bit easier, that's okay. So just owning the privilege area. So very systemic. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I care a lot about like systems, and so she addresses it really great. All right, and then just random little thoughts here that I'm looking at is humor in the book. 10 out of 10. She is hilarious. That's why I said like I think I would like join her for a cult if she ever started one because just everything she said was amazing. I was like, I don't like audibly giggle or like have strong reactions when I'm like watching TV or reading, but I literally would like giggle to myself several times throughout this book. One of them was there's a chapter about laundry, and she's like, "Why am I folding baby onesies? Like, they're baby onesies. First of all, no one cares if they're wrinkled, they're gonna get spit up on." And then she's like, "Yeah, like the laundry police." And it's just like very relatable stuff of kind of poking fun at these ideas that we have and these rules, and then when you like really like throw it out there, it's like, wow, this is actually ridiculous. And we can kind of like laugh at it and laugh at our own life of, yeah, like why am I folding underwear? Like this is so silly. Like no one cares. So just like poking those in a really lighthearted way. Um, And then I kind of mentioned this earlier, but just wanted to point out that even though a lot of the care tasks seem around like household chores, she also does a great job talking about hygiene. Especially those chapters have so much compassion because there's a lot more shame, I think, when we talk about like not being able to brush our teeth or washing our face, taking off our makeup, brushing our hair, taking a shower, those things. Those are very real things that people deal with. And so one just like putting voice to it, like, hey, you're not alone. Like there's literally a book that covers it, which means people go through it. So it takes away a lot of that shame and guilt for that person, and then just like the gentleness, the compassion. And she gives a lot of great tips on how to make those things kind of like if you have low energy, medium energy, or high energy, things like that to be able to just do something. Like something's better than nothing. So yeah, maybe I don't take a full shower, but maybe I wash my face. Okay, great. Love that. Maybe I just have some wet wipes nearby. Great. Love that. Like she's just really realistic with finding what truly works for you. Okay. So those are pretty much, and that's not even all the things I like. Like I had, when I was going through my notes, I was highlighting so many things and I was like, Alicia, this is going to be like 2 hours long. And also like the book isn't even that long. So let people read the book and you can see how wonderful it is. So I had to be nitpicky because I still wanted to be like honest and not like fully just like this is amazing. So here are a few things that if I had to pick weren't my favorites. So, which really isn't a lot. I'm really just like grasping at straws here. So, not all the methods work for me or are going to work for everyone. However, that's literally the point of the book is she is literally sharing like, hey, here's this wide variety of things. Here's all these different methods. Like it's not expected to be you follow everything step by step like a lot of other self-help books. Like you have to do all of this and then you will be perfect. That's not the point of this book. The point of this book is here's a few ideas, pick and choose. So really it was just a few things wouldn't work for my brain and that's okay. So if you read some of this book and you're like, oh, I would never do this, that's okay. Like I think you could still get something out of this book. But not every single method is gonna work for you. And so just like heads up. Okay, so this is me being super nitpicky. There's one chapter where she talks about kind of like giving ourselves permission to throw out things like we think we're going to donate. And I agree with that in spirit, right? Like it's similar to we can't be perfect in our environmentalism all the time. If we don't have the energy to clean out our recycling, like it's not going to be the end of the world if we throw some of those things away. Like I can still really value the environment and doing those sustainable things and then not be perfect and when I don't have all the energy to do that. Like that's valid. So her point is, hey, if you have been collecting all these things and you have this box of donations, throw it out. And I've heard that advice from other organizers too. And so like at the core, I do fully agree with it of if the options are sit in guilt and shame and feel awful for not putting like not having energy to organize it or go to the donation drop off, yeah, throw it out. No shame. I'm not judging you. Fully get it. My only little critique, and maybe this is because buy nothing groups have become more common since this book was made, I would also add the suggestion of putting it all in a box, putting it on your porch, and like putting a big free sign next to it. Or just put it on like my local neighborhood page. I'm like, hey, I have this giant box of things. You must take all of it. Whatever you don't use, you can pass along. But that way, like, if I don't have the energy to like individually navigate those things or to drop them off, I'm keeping it out of landfill. However, if even putting like taking the picture, posting it, messaging like that still comes with a lot of mental load there. If that's too much, truly, there is no shame. Throw it away. I've had to come to the realization that like the few things that we do, like we are not responsible for global warming. Those are the big tech people and all the billionaires. So if I throw away a couple boxes, like if I throw away a box of donations once a year, I can live with that. It's not ideal, but I can live with that. And then my last thing that I disliked about the book, and it's honestly not a dig, it's that I wanted more. It's been 3 years since this book came out, and I would love like a companion workbook or journal to go along with this because a lot of the book talks about like that reframing and some of the self-compassion and our inner critic stuff and kind of going over how we have some of these rules. And she does a good job of giving like some reflection questions and some suggestions, but I think especially for like me and other people who have just like so ingrained in that mentality, we might need a little bit more of that mental work. There's a chapter on like rest and not feeling guilty for rest or not feeling like we have to earn rest or be productive all the time. Or even like setting boundaries with family members. I think those are really hard things for us to just like read a couple pages on and be like, yeah, I no longer feel guilty. Great, I'm an expert at boundaries. That if you are and that works for you, like that's amazing. Um, so honestly, I just would want more. I would like want a full-on workbook where it's like, okay, like has all these different reflection questions and like has me like writing different prompts or a few little like exercises to practice some of those things. So that'd be my biggest tip is I want more. I want a follow-up book or workbook or journal or workshop or something because, like I said, I would join her cult. So I just want more of her stuff. She does have another book that came out this year, 2025. I haven't read it yet. It's on my to read list. But I don't think it's the exact same topic, but I will keep you posted if it addresses some of the things of like those deeper messages. Um, so I'll keep posted on that one. But yeah, I just want more. I want a journal. I want it all from her. She's great. So who would I recommend this for? If you haven't guessed it by now, everyone. And I'm not just saying that. Like I truly think there can be something for everyone in this book. And it's a really short, like it's a very easy, tangible read. So that's why I'm like, if you like to read, grab it. If you have depression, read it. If you have ADHD, read it. If you are a new adult figuring out how the heck to live in a new apartment or house, read it. If you struggle with shame and guilt around keeping the appearances in your house or looking a certain way, read it. If you struggle with movement or food guilt or shame, read it. If you are a therapist, strongly read it. If you are a parent, if you have children, if just anyone, honestly, anyone. I can't think of anyone who would be like, this is a stupid book. I got nothing from it. Just because I think it's really different. I read it recently for the second time and I got new things from it. So even if like you know a lot of these things, like you can still take things away. So anywho, that's my book or that's my review on this book. It's one of my favorites, How to Keep House While Drowning. I always have it like displayed because it's one of my favorites. And so I hope you get to read it. I hope you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, also let me know. Like my ideas are not perfect. If you have other thoughts, I'm all ears to hear them. And then other folks could also decide if like maybe it's not a good fit for them. If you have future ideas for shelf care with Alicia, let me know. I'm planning my 2026 books right now. So drop any suggestions and thank you for your time with me and take care of yourself.